Hello everyone and welcome to the homework review for lesson number 6. This is our non-verbal reasoning lesson. You should be studying CEM and in year 5, block 5. My name is Luke Lloyd and I'm about to go through the homework. So if we have a look, this is the homework we'll be doing. Today this video will go through the NVR homework for week 3. And this matches with the 6th lesson. And the lesson we'll be going through today, or the homework, is the You Must homework from the Spatial Reasoning Quick Practice Textbook. The first homework page, was on test number 16, and it was on page, if I just check, 40 and 45. The question style, as we practiced in the lesson, was this folding. Again, for those who are looking for more practice, remember the recommendation was, I think, things like origami, paper plane folding, anything of that nature I think is really valuable, just to, it gives you the skill of visualization. So anything you can do, and any of these questions that you do find difficult, I would recommend actually taking the time to cut them out of just paper, any old paper, it can be an old newspaper, and then actually physically folding it in the reel. I think that, for me at least, really helps visualize not only how the folds take place, but also, quite importantly, what the resulting overlap is, which one ends up on top. So we've seen this example before, where it's been folded down the middle horizontally, vertically, so we can immediately remove both horizontal options. And again, we look at A and C. This half that will be remaining matches A. C is too large. So again, with these, you can eliminate, certainly looking for things like the fold being changed, the direction of the fold being changed. Remember the rules being only one fold can take place with no other rotation or alteration. And that's how we go about solving these. So let's start going through them. So for test 16, question 1, the answer is A. Question 2, the answer is A. Question 3, the answer is B. Question 4, the answer is A. And those are our answers. And again, one piece of advice, it's always point to point that the lines will change. So hopefully you can see here that these 2 points match quite nicely here. And it's always you're going into the line and you're going the similar distance out. So we're going a small distance to the line, a small distance out, a large distance towards the line, a large distance out. And it's those points that allow you to visualize it. And also if you again think about this in terms of paper, could I make shape D from that paper? Well, no, I've doubled the amount of paper, I've gained far more. Similarly, shape C, nothing has actually changed. And shape B, we've ended up with this strange right angle shape. And if you were to look and follow the points again, it doesn't quite work. This one has moved over in both directions. That B, if anything, is a rotation. If you look at number 2, again, it's the bottom section folding up to find the top section. So it's this section folding up to make the top shape. For question 3, it's the bottom section folding up to make this shape. And again, if you look, we're going in the same distance to the line. And that's why that ends up here, curving back in. So again, always heading towards the line, and then the same distance out will give you the location of any point. For number 4, it's the top section folding over the bottom right section. So it's this section folding down to create the shape A. And you can see then it's this part of the ring here that's causing the new overlap to appear here as this folds down onto this side. Right, 4, 5, and 6. Sorry, 5, 6, and 7. Question 5, the answer is D. Question 6, the answer is B. Question 7, the answer is D. And let's just run through them. So for D, we can see it's the right section folding over onto the left. And again, that's leaving us with this longer edge here overlapping on top. And that's what we end up with. And again, you see sketching just a certain feature, a certain distinguishing shape can really help us to know what to look for. So it's that line is getting reflected to become that line, and that's what we're seeing on the overlap. Question 6, the right section again is folding onto the left, so right section folding over, forming that shape there. If you look, that's what we end up seeing, that line appearing along with the line of the outside edge. And again, this is where I would sort of cover all of this section with my hand and only look at what the result is. Question 7, we've got the right section again folding onto the left to create our shape D. And again, equidistant. So this far to the line, it'll be about that far again. And that point does to my eye match that. Same distance there. 8, 9, and 10. So question 8 is B. 9 is D. and 10 is B. If we go through it, 8, it's the top section folding down onto the bottom section. These two overlap, but this extrusion here will extend out. That's what we see in B. Question 9, the bottom section folds over the top section, so we're folding this way up. And so we're having this shape here reproducing itself up here, which is what we see in D. And finally, number 10, the top section is folding over the bottom, so we're going folding it sort of this way down, which is why we're ending up with this sort of overlap shape here, which is what we see in B. Right, guys, that's it. Again, give yourself a score out of 10. Well done. For any of these that you found difficult, I do recommend cutting them out. I think that's the best way to visualize them. And of course, just a reminder, you're more than welcome to come to the end of any live session that Chris or myself gives, and we're more than happy to talk through these questions with you. So it's absolutely no problem. Right, test 20. Cubes and nets. Again, I know this is something that people struggle with, so I'll try and go through and really eliminate each option as we work through together. But again, I'll do the process where I'll give you the answers, and then we'll talk about which of the 4 steps you can eliminate. Just as a reminder, and I think if you can't remember, this is certainly worth going back to the previous lesson. What are the 4 steps in terms of what we're looking for? Well, 1 is alien shapes. 2 is the pairs. 3 is the arrows or the 3 is the arrows or directions. So you need to consider what's pointing at what. And then finally, number 4 is left versus right. And we go through these in this order because obviously the alien shapes are the easiest to spot, then the pairs, within the arrows, and then finally I think the hardest one to ascertain is if it's a left versus right shape. So if I reference 1, 2, 3, or 4, these are what I'm referencing. And again, we looked through the example. We can eliminate D because it's an alien shape. We have the same thing appearing twice, which means one of these is an alien, doesn't belong. If we consider that this arrow here should be pointing towards the curved edge, we can see on here it's pointing at the wrong shape, so it's not a C. And again, similarly, we consider ourselves direction, that's pointing incorrectly, but equally we can eliminate it because of the pairs that these two should never be next to each other because they're on opposite sides. And again, these would be on opposite ends, so I should never be able to see either of them. Right. Let's start going through the answers. So the answers to question 1 and 2 are A and A. And the way I'm going to go through these corrections is just try to explain to you why, or give a possible reason, there might be multiple, as to why each of the other options are false. And that way, hopefully, we'll be able to work through the process. So if we look at B, we can eliminate B because we've got a pair that shouldn't be here. So these two shouldn't be next to one another. If we look at C, we do have a shape that I would expect to see in that we've got these 3 here. What can I say about it? Not sure. I'll come back to see in a bit. Let's look at D. Well, D's easy again. Another pair that shouldn't be next to each other. These are both step 2, so it's not D. Why the answer is not C? Let me have a think. We've got the directions of the arrows. So we've got the arrows pointing up and down. This down arrow is pointing in the correct direction. This one's pointing to the top left away from this shape, which it still is. Top left away from this shape. My rhombus, that corner, this one here, should be pointing towards the point at which the arrow and this shape meet. And if you look, here are my larger points, and these aren't pointing towards the corner. So it's not C because my parallelogram is the wrong direction. I would need to have one of these more elongated pointing corners pointing to this middle corner here. So that's why. Question 2. Let's go through it. So the answer is A. Why can't it be B? Well, let's go through. We've got no missing shapes. What about direction? This one should be facing in towards this. But if you look, this line is closest to the black semicircle, and here we have a white semicircle. So it's not B because the colours are the wrong way around. In terms of C, it can't be C because we have a pair. We shouldn't have the arch and the circle on the same cube. These should be on opposite sides, so can't be C. And if we look at D, we should have very similar to this one. The circle's the wrong way around because look, this white side is closest to my little Pac-Man, and yet on this one I've got the black side closest, so it's not D. Right, next page. Question 3 is A again, and question 4 is C. Let's run through and do some elimination. Oh, these ones look a bit interesting because just the way the 3D interacts there, how cool. Right, what can we eliminate for B? So we've got, I like the way these two line up. I'm okay with that. So it's going to be something about my triangle. Could I have a triangle pointing top down with this corner matching here? I don't think there's any way to get a triangle in this shape because it couldn't be this triangle because that makes a pair. And this one is actually on the wrong side, so it would appear on this side. So it's not B, because if I was to draw this down here, you'd have your triangle in this space on this side, but it's on the wrong hand side. So it can't be B, because the black triangle is not on the correct side of the shape to meet at these points. If you look at C, we have got the grey with the light grey and the arrows pointing down. Well, first off, right away, I can tell these lines should meet with the grey, so it can't be C. We talked about it earlier. Let's look at D. What can I tell myself about D? We've got these hashed lines and these arrows here. Any way to get these next to each other? When it could fold down, yes. Any way to get, well, yeah, this one and this one would never be next to each other. Right, the reason is this V shape here is impossible to reproduce because you couldn't have this black side because they're on opposite, they're a pair. And if you look, no matter how I fold this shape, if I was to redraw it, it would appear down here like this. And that doesn't create that large V that we see in D. So it can't be D. Number 4. Right, why can't it be A? Well, could it? We can have these two shapes next to each other because of course this follows round, so we could have these ones. But we couldn't have this run if you look here, because either you've got a pair between these two or you've got a pair between these two. So you could never have this shape appearing with both of these. So it can't be A because we don't have these are all, one way to think about it, these are all in a row. And so you would need to include at least one of these side shapes. Unfortunately, it doesn't, so it's not A. So we look at B. We've got, let's clean up my jottings. We've got the black square and, well, there you go. Right away, these are a pair. They can never appear on the same shape. We think it is C. Let's look at D. And again, if we look at the same pairing, these are on opposite sides. You could never have these two together. So I think the hardest one to eliminate there was A. This one here was the hardest elimination, and it's just spotting that this column here, none of these, you'd never be able to form three sides, because if you look, all of these in a row would appear in a circle around one another. So you'd be having the front, the back, you'd have the front, the bottom, the back view, but what you're missing is these side pieces. In order to get a side on view, you need to see these side pieces. Tough one to spot that. Right, question 5 and 6. So question 5, the answer is D. Question 6, the answer is C. Let's go through why. So for question A, I want this arrow pointing at that corner. That's fine. But look, here's a pair. We can never have these two next to each other. So it's gone. Next one, I've got, again, another pair with the star and the smiley face. These can never appear next to each other. And for C, what can we say? We would have, well, these two next to each other is possible, but never these two. So another pair, you can never have the what looks like the sort of speech bubble and the, I'm not sure, the shoe perhaps, woman's high-heeled shoe, can't be next to each other. So that was nice. These are all using number 2, the pairs. We can eliminate it down to our answer. Right, number 6. Why cannot it be A? Let's see. Well, these lines are coming into the side there. That's fine. But if you look, this little white corner here is on the top right-hand side, which would be the side closest to here. But if you look now, it's on the bottom, on the side furthest away from the square. So this should be in that corner. So that's why it's not A. For B, let's see what we've got. Well, immediately I can tell that this here does not have the triangle next to it, so we couldn't get this pattern of the triangle. So it's not B. For D, we've got the white with the black with the arrow, and again, we've got a pair. These two can never be next to each other, so it's not D. Right, next page, 7 and 8. 7 is B, 8 is D. Let's have a look at number 7 together. So we've got the oval pointing in towards that shape, which is fine. And then we've got this piece here. So if I was to fold this up so it filled in that gap, it would rotate 90 degrees in that direction. So I would end up having the little white dashes in these corners. And is that what it's showing me? It looks like it is. Right, I'm going to come back to that one. Let me ruminate on it. Number C, we've got this shape, that shape, and the other. Well, there's an easy pair, so C can't exist. D, let's have a look. We've got, again, pair and pair. Can't be D. Let's give my brain some time to take it in. So let's have a look, and I'll go back to number A. I mean, that oval does look like it might be a different size, is what I'm questioning. But no, maybe that could be that shape. It's just that one certainly looks larger. Right, presuming if it's not a size discrepancy, in that oval should be larger, which might be the answer actually now that the more I think about it. Let's just see if there's anything else I can use to eliminate it. That oval is pointing in the direction of the plus sign. That oval is pointing in the direction. And as I said before, if this was to fold up in this corner, you'd end up having this dot in that corner, which is where it's found. So yeah, I think perhaps it's just because it's slightly clear in your books, I think that oval is the wrong size. And what I'm sort of judging this by the fact that that gap on either side of the oval is smaller than the width of the oval itself. Hopefully you can see that my red lines are smaller than my blue, whereas in this case, I think my blue might actually very well be a little bit smaller than my red lines. Yeah, look at that. So that's an alien shape, I think, disguised, where they've decreased the size slightly. Tough question, number 7. Hopefully it's clear in your books, and it is on my photocopy. Question 8. Let's go through it together. Set to blue, some nice bit of an exciting colour. So, anything we can eliminate. Difficult when you've got multiple colours, because of course it means the pairings can change. Let's just see though. So what the A is currently is we've got a heart pointing down. Well already having this white, sorry, this heart on its side, pointing at this one here, in order to move that up, it would rotate away. So let me do that. So in order to move that up one, it's not listened to me. How unfortunate. Let's try again. Separate. There we go. So in order to move that up one, it would rotate like this. And so the heart would be pointing away if you look, not having the same points together. So it's not A, because these points should not be pointing towards one another. B. Is it possible to have a black heart pointing at the top of a white? No, that one's pointing away and that one's pointing towards it, not down the ridge, the bumps of the heart. In this one, is it possible to have a black heart pointing? No, if you look again, there's something in the way. So we can't have the black heart pointing at the other black heart. That means we've now eliminated all. So A, I think, is definitely the hardest one there, because these two are legitimate. It's just this shape here. If I was to move it, remember moving it up one rotates it 90 degrees, because it's this edge. Because it's this edge here that's going to be sticking to this edge. So you have to imagine like a door closing. This side goes whoop, slots in there, and that will point this in a different direction. Right. 9 and 10, last little bit. You guys done really well sticking with these. I know these aren't the easiest. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing me go through the process live. And guys, this is the first time I've seen these questions. So I'm going, again, you'll see sometimes if I need to think about something, I'll skip it, I'll move on, I'll come back. That's very much how I'd go about processing these. Right, number 9, the answer is C. And 10, the answer is B. And let's just go through. Let's do green. We've got green, eliminate the last few answers. Again, I actually love it when they give me arrows because it helps me to sort of think in my mind in terms of what direction things are pointing. So we've got the black one. The black arrow should be pointing at an arrow pointing upwards. Well, already, again, exactly the same as that last example. If I rotated it so that my little axle door shut here, this arrow, if I was to draw, would appear here. So I was kind of bringing that up. The shape would appear as an arrow pointing in that direction. And I can see a black arrow pointing into an upward arrow is then incorrect, irrelevant of the fact that these two are correct. So not A, for exactly the same reasons. That's why this one is incorrect here. Although perhaps it's slightly clearer to see on this one. If you bring that up, the arrow ends up pointing down. Right, for B, what's wrong about B? Well, we've got an arrow pointing up and one pointing away, but it's this arrow here that would appear above it, and that arrow would be pointing left. And let's just think about how that would affect. So that arrow would be pointing up towards one point in the direction, but if you see this one here, it's pointing away, whereas this arrow should be pointing in towards it. So it's not B because the direction of this arrow is in the wrong direction. And then finally, if we look at D, we've got this white arrow pointing in, which is this arrow here pointing in. And we would need to have, well, already, hopefully we can see actually, I think this pair here. Well, several reasons. If this arrow here was this one here to be pointing towards it, hopefully you see when I bring this round underneath, the arrow is pointing in the wrong direction. So there's no way to get this white arrow to have any arrow pointing at it. This one won't be, this one won't be, this one won't be pointing directly. So we can never have this situation where you've got an arrow pointing directly at the side of it. So it's not D. Right, question 10, last one. Thank goodness. Let's go through. So for A, let's think about some directions. So this should be pointing down here, and that's absolutely correct. So I like these two, but what I don't like is the direction of this one. If you look, this arrow here is pointing up towards the side. So actually, there's a couple of mistakes. This one's pointing like this to meet that corner there, but equally, this arrow, or this, should be facing this direction like that. And it's not. So it's not A because both of these are rotated incorrectly. For C, what else can we say? So we've got this arrow is pointing towards the far side. I like that, but there's no way I can see of getting this shape here. And in fact, this make a pair of things that shouldn't be next to each other, so it's not C. Let's look at D. Oh, and again, we have a pair that should never appear next to each other. And so actually, again, question 10, I don't think that was as hard as quite a few of the ones, certainly 8 and 9 I think were harder. It just goes to show that when you're doing this, guys and girls, make sure you are skipping through, finding the easy questions, the ones that jump out to you, and then going back. Right, guys, that is the homework marking done. Hopefully you've given yourself 2 scores. Hopefully you were timing yourself. With the cubes and nets, that's the one that, again, most people struggle with, so it's not a problem if, for example, you did struggle to do it under time conditions. My advice would then be to go back and always do it again. So just remember that if homework's in the future, if you do need more time after you've done it to the timing, that's fine. Mark where you've gotten up to, but then do go back and finish it, because otherwise you're robbing yourself of that practice, which is a terrible shame. Right, guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for following along. Remember, any questions, and I'm sure there will be a couple, especially with those cubes and nets, please do come to one of the Q&As throughout the week, and I'm more than happy to go through them with you again, perhaps sketch them out in detail. And again, the thing to do would be just tell me, if you are going to post a question, what homework it was, maybe what test number or page number in the book, and then specifically, the more specific you can be in terms of, oh, I didn't understand why it wasn't D or why it was B, for example, that means I can give really crisp responses. Right, everyone, thank you so much. All the best. Bye-bye.